This is Western Mass News on Fox 6.
We turn now to news that we've been following closely. 3 Amherst School Committee members, plus the district superintendent, resigning just weeks before the start of classes. Welcome, everyone, to Western Mass News at 10. I'm Chris Pisano. Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson now joins us live in studio with more on where the committee goes from here. Maria.
That's right, Chris. And with the majority of the school committee members now gone, the town council is stepping in to help the remaining committee members refill those positions as quickly as possible, starting with a town-wide search for candidates. Along with the town council, remaining school committee members meeting virtually Monday with only one item on their agenda to decide how the school district moves forward.
At present, they don't have a quorum and therefore they cannot be called to order. They cannot meet. And they cannot take action. And right there should give you a sense of the urgency of our job tonight.
3 of the 5 school committee members resigning from their positions in the past couple of weeks. The string of resignations starting off with former Superintendent Dr. Michael Morris, who took a leave of absence earlier this year, and coming months after controversy in the district, which started with a Title IX investigation into discrimination claims at the middle school. Town councilors weighing in on the road ahead for filling the school committee vacancies.
I think that we also are in a place where we can always figure something out and do it better.
And came up with suggestions on how to improve and edit the process.
This grouping of people has any thoughts on whether creating a method for public participation?
Where I would like to advocate specifically for a special public comment or some other avenue of engagement would be prior to the development of the questions that we ask to the candidates.
Since there is an upcoming election later this year, where these candidates may appear on residents' ballots, some councilors are concerned allowing public comment might interfere with the upcoming election.
The campaign finance, the Department of Campaign Finance, and also our town attorney as to the legality around the issue of public comment specifically related to the night of the interviews.
In the end, the group agreed on the timeline for the road ahead. On August 29th, there will be a notice of vacancies released. On September 20th, the statements of interest are due, and then candidates will have their interviews on September 26th, and the deadline to fill the vacancies will happen on October 5th, 8th, and 9th. And the next step for the committee is to draft and approve a list of interview questions. That discussion will happen during their next meeting on September 11th. And according to the timeline, all 3 school committee vacancies are expected to be filled by early October. Reporting live in studio, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.
Maria.